U.S. Embassy. So everyone here today is sort of part of our grants team and works either implementing grants or works to advise those who are implementing grants. So we wanted to have a session, a series of sessions actually, to help you understand and help people understand how to apply for programs or small grants from the U.S. Embassy. Yeah, so the U.S. Embassy is an embassy of multiple American government agencies. You might have heard of the U.S. Agency of International Development, or USAID. You might have heard of the Department of Defense, or DoD. You might have heard of the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC. So we represent the Department of State as another agency. That agency runs basically the embassy, right? But each agency has different pots of money, and the rules and regulations and what type of programs and projects qualify for those pots of money is also different, right? So the Department of State is most easily able to give small grants out to local partners and organizations to do work here in Rwanda, and to work with us to help advance the goals and objectives of the U.S. Embassy here in Rwanda. Okay, I know we have a few people who are alumni of some of our programs here, so welcome to our distinguished alumni. We have a few people here who have done grants with us before, so welcome and thank you for coming to hear more information. And then of course there's new faces, and we're very, very happy to partner with new people. So this is just an introduction. We're going to go over some of the types of programs that we have supported in the past, some of the types of programs that you might think about, or some of the ideas you might have to think about programs that we'll look to support in the future, as well as some of our rules and regulations.
Miriwe? Well, we're very excited to have you here. Thank you for coming. Thank you for taking the time. We're going to have a moment for questions and answers that we're going to leave at the very end of the presentation. So we're going to just go through the slides. And hopefully you will be able to get some solid information to take back with you and show it to your organization. So I guess I can do this. All right, so as Marisa said, I'm Ursula Isler. I'm the grants coordinator for the political economic section with State Department, which is different than USAID. We are all US government agencies, but I'm under State Department. And because of that, I have more access to provide small grants to you and to organizations. So just briefly, I manage the economic support funds. The economic support funds change every year. I don't know what we will be funding next year. For instance, last year, we supported a program to fight malnutrition in Huye. This year, we are promoting a program to advance the rights of people with disabilities, and also to promote fiscal transparency. All this to tell you that we don't have an annual program. So I don't know what will be coming down the pipeline. So that's why I'm really happy to see you here. So I can give you the information so you can be prepared for when the opportunity comes. Okay, usually our grants are one-time grant. It doesn't exceed more than $250,000, and it's usually less than 2 years. One thing to keep in mind, this is the type of fund that we can provide as collaboration with NGOs. Okay? And you can cost share. Now, I manage another program, which is the Ambassador Small Grants Program, which some of you have heard of, self-help, for RCA registered cooperatives only. So NGOs cannot apply for these grants. These grants are designed to provide economic opportunities for the community, to expand existing programs, to provide livelihoods. And they're usually really small. They range between 5,000 and 50,000. These ones, like I said, they're only for registered cooperatives. So even if you have an NGO that has a great idea, I highly recommend you that you work with a cooperative so they can apply for the program through the cooperative. They're usually 1-year grants. Okay? The third fund I manage is what we call the Julia Taft Fund. This is only for refugees. So one thing here that are really, really small too is 25,000. The programs are designed to provide assistance where other international organizations are not covering different aspects in refugee camps. So because they're really also very small, it's very likely that we sole source Julia Taft because they're very specific. So while you know Julia Taft exists, sometimes you might not see a notice of funding opportunity for Julia Taft. And I can clarify any about all the funds later. I just don't want to bore you with the details. Okay, so what are the things that we cannot support? This is very self-explanatory. We cannot do military activities, law enforcement activities. Here, religious activities we cannot support. However, we can support cooperatives that work with religious organizations. We don't do any assistance on programs that have environmental impact. And we do not provide direct funding to individuals from the political economics section. As you will see later on with my colleagues, the public affairs sections, they have the option to provide direct funding to individuals. We don't have that capacity. Okay? Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, so the embassy puts together a program. We're gonna put a solicitation out. Can anybody tell me where do you find that information? Where would you be looking for to see what opportunities out there to partner with the U.S. Embassy?
From the website.
From the website, very good. So here, this is what we call a Notice of Funding Opportunity, NOFO, and I will refer as a NOFO moving forward. These are all the places you're gonna find that information. Please, 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 sign up with grants.gov. Sign up your organization, is free, and you can get automatic updates. You can set it up in a way that you can get updates weekly, monthly, daily, it's up to you. Why it's super important that you sign up with grants.gov? Because you see all the opportunities that are out there with the US government, not just Embassy Rwanda, US Embassy in Rwanda. So you will probably see grants that are being managed by Washington, D.C. You will also see regional programs that cover Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda. So you're missing out. If you don't sign up on this, you're missing out. All of our Notice of Funding opportunities will be published on the website, on the Facebook, and on the ambassador's Twitter account, and also on grants.gov. But some of the programs that are being managed by DC, by Washington, will only be on grants.gov. Okay? So if you take anything out of this conversation today, will be that. Sign up with grants.gov. It's worth it, it's very easy to do, and you will get the updates constantly. I even do it myself, so I know what is going on. The other thing about what is great about grants.gov, you can also set up your criteria by agencies, not just State Department. You can do State Department, USAID, PEPFAR, CDC, all in one. Okay? So please, I encourage you to do that. Okay, so now, the next question. You see the NOFO is out. What do? You celebrate? You go and have a party? You tell everybody how great this is, and you're going to call the embassy and tell them that your organization is the best and you're going to be applying for? No, right? What is it that you're going to do? And I want to emphasize on this. I'm not joking. Read instructions. This is one reason why many organizations fail to meet the minimum requirements to apply for a grant with the U.S. government. Everyone miss one or the two instructions that are required in the Notice of Funding Opportunity. So please, that's my second advice. If that's all you get out today, make sure you read the instructions carefully. So in the next couple of slides, I'm going to show you the common mistakes that people make when submitting proposals to the U.S. Embassy. And that's why they are automatically disqualified. Okay? So I just took out the latest NOFO we did. So you see up here, U.S. Department of State, Embassy, Notice of Funding Opportunity, Political Economic section. Do you see anywhere in there that says USAID? No, right? Everyone submits a proposal saying USAID. As simple as that. And I know it's confusing, and that's why we're glad that you're here, because yeah, we are the US government, but we have different funding mechanisms. And so When I read a proposal that says USAID, I'm already on the alert that you probably didn't read all the instructions carefully, okay? This is just for every single notice of funding opportunity. See which office and which US government agency is putting the notice of opportunity out, okay? Don't assume because it's coming from the embassy that it's gonna be USAID, okay? The second thing that I want you to look at, a grant. Sometimes we do a fixed amount of awards, or we can do cooperative agreements. Usually at the embassy we do grants, which is a little bit more paperwork than a fixed amount award. And then here, deadline for applications. You see the date? Everybody misses the deadline. Everybody misses the deadline. Mistake, because you already passed the deadline. So your organization is no longer qualified. And unfortunately, we have received solid proposals that we're not even reading because they missed the deadline. We know people have issues. It's very hard to get your computer to work. And it's the standard, midnight, okay? And you will see it when you read the NOFO, the entire NOFO, it tells you right there at the time. Thank you, Jeremy, that was great. Okay, the next thing I want to point out, we put an award ceiling. This is the amount that we have for the grant. Don't submit a proposal that's asking for $400,000. They do it, people do it. And they have an ambitious program and we think it's great, but we don't have the funds. So keep that in mind, develop your budget within the guidelines of this first page. I mean, this is the first page of a notice of funding opportunity and it tells you pretty much everything. Now, another mistake we usually see, page limit. 12 pages is usually this is the standard that we do. This means your project narrative. Don't include 30 pages. Nobody's gonna read it, okay? Keep to the instructions. If it says 12 pages, it's only 12 pages. Then you're gonna have to add a lot more documents as an attachment, and my colleague Maureen will explain all about that. But just 12 pages, whatever the page limit is, just keep that in mind, okay? Another mistake that I see, we put submissions, all applications must be submitted electronically. Last year, we received 2 proposals on the mail, which I never got to see until like August. It's a shame. People put a lot of work, put a lot of effort, put a decent proposal together, only that they failed to follow the instructions. Okay? So if it says electronically, do it electronically. If it tells you hard copies or electronically, then you decide what would be best. My advice, if it's electronically and hard copies too, just do it electronically. Okay? Because that's a guarantee that somebody received an email. As opposed to, like, we have a mail room, we are a big embassy, so you don't know where it's gonna end up. Okay? Oh, and another thing I want to tell you, the title. The title tells you exactly what we want to do. I mean, right here, right now, you see a couple of things that you already know how you're going to develop your proposal. This is what we want to do. And so, on the next slide, we're going to see. Now, the NOFO has another section which is called Program Description, which is like the second page, if you want to call it as a page. And this, for instance, we include what we want to accomplish with the project, right? So in this case, we want to strengthening disability organizations, conduct public awareness campaigns, and empowering people with disabilities through small grants. Great, right? Well, there was a little section before that many organizations also missed. We wanted it to include people with disabilities in historically marginalized communities. Only one organization caught that. And this is just one paragraph. How hard it is to read that. So digest every single sentence that you see on the first 2 pages of a novel, because it's going to give you everything. And you're missing out for not reading. So please make sure you share that with your colleagues, with your team, so hopefully you don't miss next time. Just also keep in mind, we don't put this out to fill out blank spaces. We put this out because this is the information that we want and what we need. So don't take this for granted. Make sure you read it all, okay? So you don't miss anything on it. Okay, So the next part of a NOFO, this is, usually all NOFOs will have all this information, okay? So usually a NOFO also has a background information. Now, we put out a background information, but that doesn't mean we are the experts. We're not the experts on disability rights, particularly coming from State Department, right? When you're dealing with USAID, then they have the experts, like subject matter experts. But we put the basic information that we know, and we put what is happening in the country, what we know about Rwanda and the disability community. That doesn't mean this is it. Don't just copy-paste the background on your proposal. What we want to do is that you show that you know this and you know more. You are the experts, you're telling us what needs to be done, what are the current circumstances, what is happening in Rwanda, what is happening in the region, what is happening in a particular district, what you have seen. You are the ones out there. So when you see the background information, add more information, and so you can make sure that whoever is reading your proposal knows that you know what you're talking about. Many proposals that I have read never include a background other than what I put it out. So don't waste your time putting what I put out. Put something in addition to, okay? To show the reader that you're really good, that you're solid, and you understand what the issue is, okay? This one too, one-time grant to a local or international non-governmental organization. Again, the same, we have people contact us, calling us. Oh, we are an international organization, can we apply? No, right? It just says international non-governmental organizations or local. So that's another one, but we will see later on. Okay, so this is like the third part of your notice of funding opportunity. So here we lay out the objectives, what we want with the project. So in this case, we want to build stronger disability organizations, raise public awareness, and empower people with disabilities. Now you have to do the work. This is the objectives. How do you get us there? How are you gonna develop your activities tailored around these objectives? Okay? So keep that in mind when you're putting together your activities. Don't come and just say, oh, we're gonna participate in a conference in Geneva. How is that relevant to our objectives? See, and these are real cases, guys. That's why we decided to do this. I'm not making this up. Your objectives should be the one thing everybody should be working on, everyone in your team, and making sure that the activities are realistic, that the activities are relevant, and that they also, that I will explain later, the activities match your budget. Okay? It's all one package, so everything has to be included. All right? So then, the fourth part of the NOFO will tell you who can apply for this grant. So in this case, in this case, only NGOs. Only NGOs can apply for this grant. Then here we put who cannot apply: individuals, international organizations, foreign governments, educational institutions, etc. Unfortunately, that still happens. We have educational institutions submitting proposals all the time when we just indicated that it's only available for NGOs. Okay, another question that we have and we see a lot, you have to be registered in Rwanda in order to implement a program. We see it constantly. We have NGOs calling from Kenya. They want to apply, but they are not registered. They are no longer qualify. So don't waste your time. If your organization is not registered, it's very likely that your proposal will move forward. And I think Maureen is going to touch on that too. Okay? All right, so this is the fifth part of the federal award. Here we tell you the length. We tell you usually it's one-time award. One award. Usually we can do one award, or sometimes we can do two awards on the same notice of funding opportunity. We tell you what's the price range, and then the duration of the project, usually 24 months or less. And then here, keep an eye on this, everyone. This notice is subject to availability of funding. We get funded by Congress. there has been times where Congress has canceled some of our programs. So even if you submitted the greatest proposal on earth and we're ready to go ahead with your organization, we cannot sign a grant agreement until we have the funding. Sometimes it has happened, sometimes we don't receive the funding, and that's it. We can't do anything about it. So this is just more of a disclaimer from the US government perspective. Please don't let that discourage you. You should always apply, because it's very rare that our programs get canceled, but it could happen. All right. So this is the fifth part of the novel. English. All your documents have to be in English. I know it's really hard. For some of you, English is not your first language, so I understand that, but it's a requirement that the US government has. So all your documentation has to be in English. If you don't speak English, hire somebody within your organization. Invest that to have somebody come and proofread your proposal or help you develop the proposal. Another one that we see a lot, budgets. Your budgets should always be in US dollars. Why is all this? You're entering into a legal agreement with the US government. And as a result, you have to do it in English and you have to do it in dollars. Okay? And then, I'm not going to go very long on this because Maureen is going to explain about it. You will be asked to provide some documents, which is all these 3 documents that are mandatory. Each document has an instruction page on the last page. So the more you do this, the more familiar you're going to become with the forms. But make sure, again, you read the instructions. You have the page on the back that tells you how to fill out the SF-424, the SF-424A, and the SF-424B. And then you should have a summary page. Okay? When I say 12 pages, your proposal should be 12 pages. You should have a project narrative of 12 pages, and then you should have all these 3 forms, plus your budget. So you will be submitting about 5 or 6 different documents, okay? Don't count these forms as the 12 pages of your project narrative, okay? Because then you're missing out on some pages that you could have included more information, okay? I printed out this so some of you can take copies. This is what a normal proposal should look like. You should always have a proposal. And this is a great opportunity for you guys to do this, and even if you're not working with the US government, to do it with anybody else. If you're submitting proposals to work with the Dutch embassy, or if you're working with the Japanese embassy, this is a great way to start. Because you should always have a proposal summary. You should always introduce your organization. You should make a problem statement, your goals and objectives, your activities, which again, tailor your activities to the objectives. You should have a program method and design, okay? You should have a timeline. Who will be the key people involved in the project? Who will be your local partners? If you're partnering with local organizations, and so we are relying on you to tell us how you're going to achieve that. One thing that I have seen that it works great, usually you will partner with local officials, district officials, you will partner with the government, you will partner whoever you think would be necessary so the project will have a continuity after you finish the grant. Okay, this is, you get points when you submit this, and you will see when you see a real notice of funding opportunity, you get points for all the things that you submit. And this is one area that I always see organizations get very low scores. Because they just put one paragraph, we just make it sustainable, but they don't tell you how, okay? Another thing I have seen, how you make it sustainable, for instance, you train health workers, you train paralegals. So there you have it, right? They will continue with the project as we move on. Okay, so this is actually, I took all this information from the proposals we have received and the rating sheets that we put together when we evaluate proposals. So I put a couple of slides on do's and don'ts. I can emphasize enough. I even learned it in Kenya, Rwanda. Soma aba girisa Please. Okay? That's all you need to know. Grants.gov and some Amgari Giza. Okay? So read instructions. Read instructions and read instructions and make sure somebody else reads the instructions in case you're missing something. Do your homework, conduct research. We encourage you to think outside the box. Come up with cool, great ideas on how you see this project could be implemented. You are the experts, you are the ones out there. Tell us how we can do it better. Okay, justify your project idea. I often see that people list the activities, but they don't really tell me how. Okay, don't assume that I know. Oh, we're gonna improve malnutrition in Huye. Oh, great, how? How? Write it down. How? What's your plan to improve malnutrition in Huye, right? Proofread your proposal, invest time and a little bit of money if you can, somebody to read your proposal. Make sure your budget matches your proposal. Last time we had an organization that proposed to go to Geneva. They were going, 3 people were going to Geneva. Their budget only indicated 1 person. So I had to go back and tell them, how are you going to get the other 2 people there? And they're like, oops, we missed that. Yeah. So make sure your budget matches your activities. So every activity and the budget should be together. Okay? Feel free to use boldface, italics. And also, if you have the funds, propose to cost share. If you have 10,000 that you can put towards a project, or 5,000 or 2,000, whatever you think you can help with the project, go for it, do it. It's not a requirement, but we will appreciate if you want to co-share the project with us. Okay? The don'ts here, don't wait until the last minute. Internet always fails, so don't wait. Don't assume we know the programs. Don't assume we know your organization. Don't tailor your activities more to your organization needs, because that's not the purpose of US government grants. Don't go crazy with the budget. Everything's suddenly super expensive when we get the budgets. People go, oh, it costs $10,000 to go to, I don't know, Muhanga. So don't exaggerate. I mean, we have people here that read the proposals with us, so they know better. Okay, so don't try to be creative and try to be sneaky, because it's not going to work. Don't copy paste proposals. Oh my goodness, I see this all the time. Again, don't overlook project sustainability. Don't forget to submit a budget. And I have to say something right here. One of the forms that you are required to submit is the SF424A, which is actually a budget. Don't think that form substitutes your budget, because it doesn't. You still need to submit the form and the budget. Okay? That's another mistake that I see all the time. So make sure your form is there, make sure your budget is there. Don't propose vague activities. Okay? Here, if you partner with an organization, please identify who is in charge, who's going to be doing what. If you partner with a big organization, I highly encourage you to do it. There are really, really strong, solid organizations in Rwanda, in Kigali. They have people that write proposals all the time. If you have the great idea and you know them and you can partner with them, consider that. It's a great way to start working with the US government. You will be under a sub-grant, but it's a great way to get started. Always indicate who are your beneficiaries. Like I said, be creative with your activities, but make sure you include the actual people that we want to cover with our programs. Okay? Always include a project summary and contact your grants officer. So every NOFO has a point of contact person. Please feel free to contact them with solid questions, not just with questions that show the grants officer that you haven't read the NOFO. Okay? Oh, I'm an association, I'm not registered, can I apply? Nobody's going to reply to your email. As simple as that, nobody's going to reply to your email, because that tells us you're not serious. So why would we take the time to reply to your email when you haven't even read the instructions? Do your homework before you contact us, okay? The US government actually funds conferences and workshops, but don't make that the whole purpose of your program. Because a lot of organizations fail with that. They just want to do one conference and 3 workshops, and there goes to 250,000. Well, no, that's very unlikely to happen. Don't submit documents that are not required. Even if you have the greatest video that you put together, I received a video, seriously. And the problem was it blocked my account. So then I knew people were still submitting proposals. So that was very frustrating. The video probably was great. I wasn't able to watch it. We cannot watch videos. So don't submit things that are not required, because then you're going to block the entire system for everybody else. If you're planning to attend an international conference, just don't tell me, oh, we're going to go to Geneva. No, tell us why. Why do you think it's important? Why do you want to go? What do you think will be the specific things you will be doing during the conference, and how will that impact the whole program? Okay, and again, don't hesitate to contact the grants officer if you have specific questions. All right, and the last thing I'm going to tell you, U.S. government grants are not free money. They're not, and they require a lot of work. And the work starts from the minute you decide to put together a proposal. Do it right. If you're going to do it, just do it right. And I'm going to tell you why for 2 things. I know there is a lot of work involved. So if you're not putting the effort and you're just submitting a halfway good proposal, you're wasting your time and you're wasting everybody's time. The second thing, we're a small embassy. So let's say you submitted a very good proposal, but you didn't get the grant. Believe me, I will have that organization in my head. And it's very likely that I will share with my colleagues. I will share with my colleagues with the public affairs section, with CDC, with PEPFAR, and I will tell them, wow, this guy submitted an amazing proposal. There was just one that it was a little bit better. So don't miss out on that opportunity, because we talk among us and we want to make sure that if you're solid, we're going to invite you to participate in workshops, in conferences, whatever we're doing, you're going to get an invitation. Because, you know, a good proposal tells us that you're serious about it, okay? It's a lot of work, but you're serious. Just to give you some statistics, last year for our project to fight malnutrition in Huye, we received 22 proposals. 22. Only 7 met the minimum requirements. Only 7. Out of the 7, 3 were outstanding. So one organization got the grant. The other 2, everybody knows who they are. I mean, within the embassy. So don't miss out on that opportunity, okay? This year when we did our disability project, we received 12 proposals. Only 6 met the minimum requirements. Out of that, there were 4 organizations that were really, really solid and really good. And so I know eventually they will eventually get a grant, because their proposal was really, really, really good. So when you submit a proposal, you will get a letter to tell you whether or not you have been awarded the grant. If you don't get it, you will receive a little explanation on why not. And we're usually very specific. So you will see right there why you didn't qualify. Okay? Please do it. It's a great exercise. It's good for you, for your organization, to submit proposals. Do it right from the very beginning. And yes, we're looking forward to partnering with you. I mean, we really relied on you to implement our programs. So I'm very happy that you're here today, and we will do the questions after my colleagues finish their presentation. Right? Okay? Thank you. Murakoze. So what 2 things that you take away? 2 things that you take away. Grants.gov and read instructions. Very good. And your grants are not free money. Never.
This is exciting. We actually had to turn people away from the gates because we ran out of badges. We ran out of room for people. Luckily, we're going to have a video that we'll put on Facebook, that we'll put on the website, that you or your colleagues can go to and watch later if you want to be reminded of any of these details. I'd like to do a very quick survey. Who found out about today's event by Facebook? And who found out about today's event by an email from someone in the embassy, someone that you've been talking with? And did anyone else learn in a different way?
From embassy, but not today, since 4 days ago.
Okay. Anybody else? Great, that's useful for us to know. I'm so glad that Ursula was able to talk about the political economic section grants. Now we're going to have some of my colleagues talk about the public diplomacy grants. And these are a little different. Oftentimes they're more flexible, and you get to do more of the creating of ideas. Because we can look at any grant proposal that has to do with public diplomacy. So first we've got the public word. We just want to see an idea that's going to be a good thing for Rwandans, for your community, or for a different community, or some sort of group of Rwandans, or a disadvantaged community, but some sort of public component to your grant. And then the second part is diplomacy. We want to see something that is a good diplomatic idea. That it's either going to touch on some of the goals of the embassy, or that it's going to help better connect Americans and Rwandans, or it's going to be something that comes up with such a good outcome that it makes the embassy's support look really good, and it helps build goodwill between Rwandans and the United States. So I've got 3 colleagues who will tell you about different parts of their portfolio. And then afterwards, of course, we'll have plenty of time for questions about public diplomacy grants. Please join me in a warm welcome for our expert.
Thank you, Jeremy. Good afternoon. Yeah, we've had Esla. She had a very nice presentation, and everyone should follow it. Though it's public, it's Polycon, but also it applies to our grants as well. Public diplomacy has grants, and I've seen some people from here who have got grants from public affairs section here in the embassy. And now we are going to go like in the phases how these grants are managed. The grant has 4 phases. The pre-award, which is the most important phase. All of them are very important, but this one is the first phase where you have to get everything in order to follow all instructions in the NOFO. The pre-award phase. This is the phase where we receive documents from you after reading all the instructions in the NOFO and apply accordingly. Have a proposal, have all the documents, like all the forms completed. After these ones, here we receive them, we review, and then decide which grantee are we going to fund, which proposal is the best one to use US government funds to. The NOFO is advertised on the grants.gov, which you all have to sign up and get information from different embassies around the world, US embassies and agencies. The NOFO spends, normally it's between 30 to 60 days, which you have like enough time to get all the documents ready. If your NGO is not registered, you register. If you don't have any information, because like the NOFO has all required things you need to have. Like you will have to fill the SF form 424A, 424, and then 424B. You have to have all your proposal narrative, the budget, all the goals, like to have a complete proposal which really fits what US government interest or what we want to serve to the community. You have to have your NGO registered. She has said everything. But there are other things you have to have. Like any NGO has to have a dance number. A dance number. In the NOFO, there is a link where you go to a website and then register to have a dance number. It spends between 2 to 3 days. even 1 day sometimes you can even get it, but maximum it's 3 days. You have to register to have a dance number. In the email they send you, there is where you have to go and then register to have an NCAGE number as well. After having an NCAGE, then register to SAMS.gov. All these ones are required information, and you will have to use them. We have to check if you have a dance number, if you have registered to have your account is in the SAMS.gov. This is where we are able to see that this person has completed everything. That's why you have enough time, 30 to 60 days, you have enough time to go through all the required information. After having like all the required information, then you submit, then we decide who is the grantee we are going to fund, depending on the proposal you have submitted and you have all the required information we needed. Then we'll go in the award phase. Award phase, that's when the team here, the grants officer, has decided that this person, this NGO, we are going to fund it. Then we will go in our procedures, internal procedures, to create an award, get it approved. After it's approved, it doesn't mean that the start date is the starting date of the programs. It may take time, but that means the award has been approved, and you can even start activities depending on how you've planned your proposal, how you've planned your activities. After it's approved in our systems, we send it to the grantee to sign it. Sometimes we don't read emails, sometimes I know it's a culture, Rwandan culture, or I don't know, it's not good. We have to read. If you're not, like, it's not clear, you write back. But you have to sign the grant within 10 days for us to be able to proceed with other, even to limit like the time you have to complete your activities. Read your emails. If you have seen someone sending you that please sign this grant award, you have to sign it within the limited time. 10 days, it's enough for everyone to open up an email and read and then scan and send, or maybe take a photo or bring it at the gates. We can receive them. After getting the document signed and uploaded in our systems, we encourage grantee to read the instructions, the terms and conditions. There are things we are not allowed to do, but which are very important to US government and US government regulations. You have to read all the instructions. Grants don't cover beverages like alcohol. Our grants don't cover parties or something like that. If you include like things which are not allowed, then make sure you will be disqualified, or the grant will be terminated because you've used US government funds for things which are not allowed. That's why you have to read the instructions. After getting everything, like the award phase, the award has been approved in the system, we have all your documents, then we do a meeting with the grantee to make sure we go through all the steps with the grantee so that they can start the activities. This kickoff meeting is very important because you get to learn what you need to do and what we expect to get from you after seeing your proposal, and then we start the payment for the first phase for you to be able to start doing activities. We require each grantee to tell us ahead of time, inform us ahead of time. We've planned maybe to start activities in Jan, and this is how we are going to do. We are going to visit these sites. We are going to do this and this. That one helps us to know what you're doing And if any one of our team is available, can come to visit. It's very important for us to know what you guys are doing. We know you are in the right position to do it. That's why we fund you to do activities. You are the best, you are the experts in your areas. And we need to learn from you. We need to see what you're doing and where we can improve, like for future programs. This is also part of monitoring, but it's also part of us to see the areas you're working in and see potential places, activities we can do as well. After each activity, we need a short report, not a big report, not a 12-page report. 2 pages are enough to tell us how the activity went, outcomes, even the barriers where you encountered. Sometimes we funded the proposal to work with refugee camps. It was a very good proposal, girls in refugee camps. It took time. The performance period they had was not enough for them to get permissions from Midimar. But once the proposal was, they had the permissions, it was the very good opportunity to teach girls in refugee camps, where they really had their first time to touch on the computer, to learn different things, to see the world behind them, your activities. Any significant changes in your budget, any significant changes in what you're doing, you have to inform the grants officer while you're doing the activities. You may find that you needed a computer, now you don't need it, you need like a printer, or that's an example. So you have to inform that, can we use these funds to cover this one? Can we reduce like transport for people coming here? We are going to use it for this purpose. Then everything has to be negotiated, and if we see this is the right thing to do, then we do it. After the program is already completed, we require a grantee to send a final proposal for all the activities they did to the grants officer. Addition to the final proposal, you have to submit the federal report, federal financial report. Those forms are all of them, you can find them on the grants.gov. You have a maximum time of 90 days, but if you do it in a 1 day, it's also fine. The sooner, the better. If you do it like in 2 days, it's fine, but you still have enough time to complete the final proposal. If you've done the 2 pages per each proposal, then it's very easy to compile them together and then submit them. When you submit the final report, we review them, and then if there is anything we need from you, we request you, bring this, add this. After we have like enough documents we need, if there is funds remaining, we send them to you. We disperse the funds to you. Final payments are done. If we see that you don't need funds, everything was covered in the funds dispersed before, then we can retain the remaining. But those are decided depending on how you've done and how you've completed, or if you still, or if the funds remaining will be dispersed. After receiving all the final documents, we'll send a final closeout letter to the grantee telling the grant has been completed, fully completed, and it's a closeout. It's a closing letter saying the grant has fully completed and then it's closed. unspent money can be retaken or can be sent to the grantee. I've seen that one. These are just a summary of what we've done. A summary of what we've done. In the first thing is a proposal which is realistic, the budget which is realistic. Ursula said about it, don't exaggerate. We are people, we travel, we know how you travel as well. If you go to Kigali, maybe City Tower, and then you say you use 10,000 Rwandan francs, everyone knows it won't go that much. You have to tell us the budget which is realistic. I know it may change like in 2 months. Now what you budgeted for is no longer applicable. That one, after the award has been approved, we can still negotiate and see. The lodging can't be $100, now it is $200, depending on the situation. There we can weigh and know where to increase, where to decrease. But be realistic while you're doing your budget. And the budget has to link with the proposal. You have to know this budget line is going to do this activity. Like in this activity we need these funds, these budget lines will cover this whole activity, one activity. You have to make sure your budget matches your proposal. And it helps you to know, I've used these funds, this much on these funds, I'm remaining with this one, which you are able to manage and to do your project well. These are the important things. Once we send the NOFOs, you will have to see where you have to apply to have a dance number, NCAGE. All the information comes once you apply. Then they send you an email with other links to follow. Apply to have NCAGE, and then the SAMS registration. Make sure you have all the necessary documents in the NOFO. Once you submit the grant, your proposal, once we have decided on which NGO to support, then there will be someone assigned, which we call grant officer representative, assigned to that project or proposal. He will be in contact with you, and then the grant officer as well. This is a kickoff meeting for you, and they go to make sure you know what you're going to do, the US government regulations and all the stuff, reporting requirements, requesting for next tranches, respect performance period. This is very important. I said it. Send any updates on the plans of activities to the grant officer. Any changes in the budget, inform by email. Then we decide if there is any change, if that change is significant, or if we need to know where to take the money from and use it for us to be able to achieve the activity, the goals of the program, of the proposal. Then the final report, and then the closeout. Our grants can fund NGOs and individual with a program. It can be. We do fund NGOs and individuals, but it depends on the program. It depends. That one we are flexible than the Polycon section. We do fund different, either US, Rwandan citizen, US citizens, or any other citizen, or any other NGO, so long as they are registered, we do fund them. Thank you.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me, those at the back? Yes. Yeah, my name is Jean Odier Kolimana. I work in the public affairs section here as the cultural affairs specialist. I help manage exchanges and English language programs. Yeah, before I continue with my presentation, may I ask you to take like 10 seconds. Just stand up and stretch a little bit. All right, that's it. We don't even need 10 seconds. 5 seconds were enough to stretch and get back to the game. Yeah, so my first 2 colleagues did a great job, like going through the grant processes, guidelines, all the websites, the grants.gov, the NCAGE, everything you have to do to get registered before you submit an application. They went through NOFOs, GORs, GORs. What does a NOFO stand for? Like, who can tell me in full? Like, in full words, what is a NOFO? Yes.
Notice of finding opportunity.
Notice of finding opportunity. Thanks very much. Go. This is just I'm going to school. Is it a verb? Yes.
Non-government organization.
That's NGO. I say go.
Government organization.
Grant officer. So, yeah, the grant officer. And then GOR. Yes.
Grant officer representative.
Grant officer representative. Right. So I have a chance to be a GOR. I'm one of the GORs we have here at the end. For me, my presentation is like a bit more specific because I'll talk about English language programs we have in our section, the public affairs section. So ESL stands for English, like English as a second language. So here at the embassy, especially through the public affairs section, we run various types of English programs, and we like the local administrators at the country level, but we have our colleagues back in Washington DC in the Office of English Language Programs, in the Bureau, the Bureau of Education and Cultural Affairs, what that we call ECA in the State Department. We have another office, regional office, based in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. We call it the Regional English Language Office. So we work together in designing and implementing English programs. But most importantly, because we can't move around or managing programs everywhere in the country, we work with partners through grants to implement those programs. We together? Mm-hmm. All right. Now, as I said, we have like 3 offices, like the DC one, the regional one, and the national one here at the embassy. And those 3 offices design programs. They are programs designed or developed in Washington, D.C. And when they are developed, they send them to us, like guidelines on how to work with partners, and then we work with partners to implement those. There are also programs developed at the regional level by our RELO. Again, we work with the RELO, bring the programs here, work with partners, and we get them like implemented. But there are also programs we design and develop here at the embassy in our section, and again reach out to partners and get them implemented. So I'll give you a few examples of those programs. One of them, it's like our largest English program. It's the English Access Micro Scholarship Program. So it's designed for high school students between 12 and 20 years who are bright, whom we think not having a good level of English would be a barrier for them to like succeed in other courses. So like the funding seeding for this program, like the annual allocation is $90,000 per year. So it's designed by the office back in Washington, again, is brought to us to work with a partner, usually an educational institution, to implement this program. So currently, the partner we have is the Congregation de Sauve de Bichita. They have a lot of schools around the country. And they are able to sponsor at least 200 students per year. So that's one. And I'll try to indicate like sites where the classes take place. In addition to that, we have programs that are developed here. There's a good number of them. So here in the country, at the country level, we work with different institutions to run English clubs. We work with institutions to do spelling bees, debate clubs. We work with educational institutions to train teachers, do conferences, seminars, or workshop style programs. But in addition to trainings or like programs, I would say people come and attend, we also provide English language program materials. And these ones, when we do a grant with materials, we call it a property grant. So we provide property grants for institutions for them to make them available to the public depending on the audience they have around in the communities around. Again, our office in Africa, we have 3 relos. So one for East Africa, covers 16 countries. It's like East and Central Africa. It's based in Dar es Salaam, but there's another relo in South Africa and another relo in Dakar, Senegal. So we are under East Africa. So the relo is able to sponsor people to attend international conferences. Like there's a big gathering for English language programs that happens every year in the US. It's called TISO Convention. So the relo can fund somebody, like not just teachers, anyone involved in the English language promotion, to go and attend these international conferences. Those ones, we call them travel grants. The relo, even though based in Dar es Salaam, if there's an organization here that has a plan to put together a conference or whatever, the relo is able to fund that. So the relo gives us, usually, even when it comes from the relo or in the office back in Washington, D.C., they always have to come through us and say, can you get this funding and get it to the organization on our behalf? So usually there's no way, in many cases, you can work directly with the relo without the involvement of the embassy in the country. So these are like in-country programs we have here. And when I give you a list like this, these are the programs we try to generate. But an institution, education institution, NGO, can also come up with an idea related to English language program. So just to say, this is not an exhaustive list. So the list can be extended whenever an organization comes up with a good idea, and then when you appreciate it and our grant officer approves the idea, then that can be also funded. So this is like an exhaustive list. Yeah, and I try to come up with different locations. This is not like all of them. We have a few more others, but just to show you where some of our programs or institutions we support are located. So I talked about the Access program with the Eligibility organization. So they are in 4 sites. So we have a school in Rwanda, that's Group Scolaire Rwanda. They have a grant that supports 50 students. Down in Nyanza, that's Group Scolaire Matelde. They have 100 students. Down in Save, closer to Huye, they also have a class of 100 students. And we go further in Chiveho, Nyaruguru district, we have 100 students. And these are just access for sites for the access program. But as I said, we provide materials or sponsor any other organizations that have English language promotion on their agenda. And I have like 3 examples. We have an American corner up in Rubavu, in UTB, that's the former RTUC. So they have an American corner with English language programs, and we support those, either through direct funding or through property funding, property grants for materials. So we have an American corner in Kigali. It's based at the Adventist University of Central Africa. Also support their English programs and sometimes property grants to procure or purchase materials to be used for that purpose. So there's an English language resource center at Iseka, that's Institut Catholique de Kabgayi. So we also support this center with materials and programs. So yeah, these are just samples. There are other institutions we work with just once, like hit a program and complete and run. But these ones are a bit like established partners or people we continue to work with, not on a single program but multiple programs. And next, and this does not apply to just ESL grants or English language program grants. These like principles or tips apply to all grants, like the types of grants Maureen talked about, the types of grants Asa talked about. So this is like a quick cheat sheet, and each grant type can have like further tips or guidelines or requirements, but these are like general to all grants. So when we evaluate grants, we look at the impact. When we look at the impact, so in say an ICT training for all university students across the country during 10 days, and my intended objective is like after the 10 days I'll have trained everybody on developing applications. So we'll look at that and say, hey, is this really going to happen? Or even if it happens, then what's going to be the impact? So that can be easily like knocked out as a grant with no visible impact after the completion of the activities. So innovation, it can be a new idea or an existing idea with a new strategy. So that's what we mean by innovation. Feasibility. Yeah, feasibility. That, like the example I've just given, has a component of feasibility. So within 10 days, and with like all university students, that's a big number. So when you look at that, we want to say, hey, are these people really going to do it? Like all university students in 10 days, is this really a feasible or realistic project? Then sustainability. So usually we give like seed funding, as I mentioned about it. Like it's always pending the availability of funding. If we are able to fund a project this year, there's always no guarantee that the following year you get another funding to continue the project. So a project that demonstrates potential for sustainability, that even after the first part we fund, it's going to stay alive, is a competitive project proposal. Again, we look at the institutional capacity, especially for organizations. Like, do you have really the right skills to implement the project you are proposing to do? And if you don't have it, is it clear in the project proposal that you partner with some other individuals or organizations that have the right skills and the capacity to do the project? So when you don't see that capacity, then it's a sign that the project will not happen, and that can be easily disqualified. And reasonable budget, I want to comment about this. Maureen talked about it very clearly. And just one key tip to keep in mind, always remember the budget you're submitting is going to reach people who have a good understanding of the context. Like, even if you don't take like public transport and say take a cab, like a cab from Convention Center to Kigali City Tower won't cost like $20. You know, it's between like $5 or $6 or $7. So always keep in mind that budget you're submitting is going to people who have a good understanding of the context of the country and the costs about almost everything. Yeah, this is just a quick cheat sheet on what makes a grant proposal. But as I said, for each type of grant, there's going to be like other guidelines and other criteria, but these can be applied to all types of grants. And then last, we like reports, and as Maureen said, it doesn't have to be always like a big report. It's just a justification that things happened, the project took place, and we like pictures. Because like a 2-page narrative, you can write it and put it down even when the project did not happen. But when it's a picture, that's even better. So that's one graduation ceremony of the Access program. I think it happened last year. So they had graduated after completing their 2-year program. And that's the end of my presentation. Thanks very much.
Education USA is a U.S. State Department network of advising centers that provides accurate and comprehensive information about educational opportunities in the U.S. So the type of work I do is general advising for students who intend to pursue undergraduate and graduate studies in the U.S. And also we have another type of advising called cohort advising, where we select a group of top-performing high school graduates and we give them, or we help them in the application process, including preparation for the test required and the essay application process. Writing essays required. So I'm here to talk about grants. One of the grants that Education USA under the Public Affairs section provides. It's a grant for the cohort advising. That program where we select top-performing high school students, we give them an instructor. That instructor prepares them for the test of English or foreign language, SAT, and other required tests. So, most of the grant components have already been mentioned by the previous presenters. This particular NOFO for Education USA, the title is U.S. College Preparatory Course. As you can see, the awarding office is Public Affairs section. And announcement type is a grant. You see the date open and deadline of application. We had a month, and Maureen talked about the deadlines, 30 days to 60 days. Award ceiling, 5,000. Award floor was 2,000. For next year, we already have a grantee, and we called for applications back in August. We may need another grantee depending on needs for the cohort of 2020. The best way to keep track of this is to like the U.S. Embassy Facebook page and also follow or check sometimes the U.S. Embassy website. The context. So what are we looking for? We have students, we've already selected students. We want them to prepare for the test and college essay writing applications. So this program, under this program, the grantee will teach or instruct classes of TOEFL, SAT, or ACT depending on the needs of the students, but also college application essays, introduction to U.S. college campus culture. We encourage instructors to share their experiences studying in the US, or bringing in speakers who have studied in the US so they can share their experiences with the students. They can understand what the US campus culture is. So, as you can tell, the ideal grantee must be familiar with the US college application process, have some teaching experience, and also be familiar with the program components, SAT or ACT, TOEFL, and have strong English language skills in writing, reading, speaking, and listening. So it's not necessary, does not necessarily mean they have to be a native speaker, English native speaker, but they have to have these skills. Program description, as my previous presenters mentioned, this program is open to, or this opportunity is open to individuals and organizations. They can be based anywhere when they're applying, but at the moment we accept grantees who teach physically, not necessarily online programs. We're now focusing on like spending time with the students at American Corner, Kigali, located in the Adventist University of Central Africa. Performance period for this particular NOFO was 6 months, and the program will start in January next year and will end in June next year. Program dates were in the description. Number of hours per week varies depending on the project. For this particular project, there were 6 hours per week. 6 hours per week. And part of the course delivery, we had resources that we have already here, but also the grantee could use the funds we give them to purchase additional materials, like books or CDs or other resources they may need. Announcements. As like many other grants, we advertise this grant on the U.S. Embassy website and the Facebook page, but also we share with the embassy community so they can share with their contacts, and the public affairs section contacts U.S. mission agencies like Peace Corps, and also expat community, like on their Facebook page or the contacts we know personally. So the best way to learn about such opportunities is to like our Facebook page, the U.S. Embassy Facebook page, and keep track of all the posts we put up on the website of the embassy. Thank you so much. That was like a sample or overview of a small grant that we provide under
and show you how to log in and get a SAMS number. We will show you the SF424 form and how to fill out each step. This is general information. That'll be a more specific presentation, specific to the application process itself. So make sure you sign up, and that way we can invite you back in March. Ursula had one thing that she wanted to add before we get to some time for just a couple general questions.
So before we walk out, please take one of these sheets, the proposal, what every proposal should have. Don't forget to take that. And I'm often asked, what is your proposal? So always make sure that your proposal has a logic model. Just a simple example. Your kid is hungry. You're going to feed your kid. You go to the market, you buy food, you clean the food, you cook the food, you feed your kid, you put your kid to bed. That's a logic model, right? That's simple. It's just like that. So keep that in mind when you're developing your proposal.
We'll take now a couple general questions where the answers would be interesting to everybody in this room, not my organization does this and I have a specific question. Are there any general questions, what you've heard from any of the presenters today?
The question I might have might not necessarily concern what they are presented, but I'm wondering whether these documents will be shared among yourselves in case we need to read through.
So the PowerPoint presentation? Yes. We will put both the video and the PowerPoint presentation onto the website, and we'll send everyone that signs up, we'll send you that link so that you can both watch the video or give the video to someone who wasn't here today, or if you want to review any of the information from the PowerPoints. Super. We'll definitely do that. Yes, sir?
My question is about the proposals that we can send. I would like to know whether one organization can send more than one proposal.
Can one organization send more than one proposal?
Yeah.
Yes. One organization can send as many proposals as you want.
Just from a cooperative standpoint, there wasn't a lot covered. Could you give some examples of what kind of funding can be given to cooperatives?
Yeah, Ursula, can you speak to that part? What kind of programs have you done with cooperatives in the past?
Yes, so this is part of what we call the Ambassador Small Grants Program. One of our favorite projects of all time, we funded this year. We converted a pond into a tilapia farm right next to Akigera Park. So those are the type of activities. We try to focus on activities that benefit the community and also that could provide income to the community or to the members of the cooperative, and also that promote livelihoods. So just that's one of the examples. We also do a lot of projects on beekeeping. That's another one. We also do sewing and tailoring. So, and that one actually has a notice of funding opportunity. So that usually comes out in May. So you will see that.
Yes.
Does this grant of $200 and 25 between $200 and $250? This is
Oh,
for
the
one
previous one?
project, or this is got a different project?
No, it's
The
usually.
total amount.
Where is it? Can we go back one? It's usually one project.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it's one time project. But we can, if we have two proposals and they're really good, we can actually split the project in two. But usually that never happens because we already know the funding is very limited. So we're gonna take advantage of just using one grant.
Okay. When I'm implementing the project funded by you, if another offer is coming, can I apply again without closing with one?
Yes, as Jeremy said, you can apply for different grants, not to the same project, but different grants throughout. I mean, you know, there's a cycle. Every grant has a cycle. So anytime during the cycle, you can still look and apply for other projects, other grants.
Yep, absolutely. I'd say the one thing is we'd evaluate how much progress you've made on that first grant before we decide to give you a second grant. So if you're making a lot of progress, if things are being done, if you're being communicative, then yes, it's likely that you could get a second grant. If though you're really slow, if you never respond to your email, if we haven't seen anything, then you're probably not going to get another grant until you finish the first grant. Yes, sir.
And you will be competed, like the program will be competed, right? It's not like you, because you have one grant with the government, next grant will be sole source to you. No, it will be competed again. So you will have to do it all over again. Exactly.
Yes, sir.
Are all the grants targeted towards cooperatives, NGOs, and individuals only? Because, I mean, it's the first time and you've covered only individuals, cooperatives, and NGOs.
Right.
So is that the...
So the other grants are possible, but we don't do, like, international organizations. In my section, I don't think your section, we don't
No, we don't.
international organizations.
One addition is that we would consider a grant to a for-profit business, but there are extra steps that we would need to go through, and our preference would always be to work with a nonprofit organization as opposed to a for-profit business. But it's a possible option as well.
Right. Other grants that we don't do, they are grants for government agencies, like Rwandan government agencies. We don't do that, unfortunately.
Yes, sir.
We have seen that key personnel of the team sometimes is a key component of the proposal. What if you require an expertise that you don't have in the team, but maybe you will hire? Does it reduce the strength of the proposal, or is it just the same?
Well, it depends, right? Sometimes we recognize that. Sometimes we recognize that you don't have a malnutrition expert within your team. But if you indicate that you're in the process of hiring a malnutrition expert and you include how you're going to get that person on board, it will be taken into account. Better yet, if you can have somebody on board. But I know it's really hard. It's really hard to come up with the right balance when you're submitting your proposal.
And I think we just look at that and say, well, how realistic is that real? that this guy has a relationship with this expert or can build a relationship with someone to come over. If you say you're going to bring Lady Gaga over, I'm probably like, show me a picture of you and Lady Gaga to prove that you're friends and that she's going to come. I'm not just going to believe that you can magically make Lady Gaga come to Rwanda.
The other thing I noticed based on that is that some people will submit a proposal and hire the 2 great experts, and all the funding is going to pay the salaries of the experts. And that's it. Like, there's no money left for any activities. Huge mistake. So just try to balance it.
We'll do 2 more general questions. Yes?
You mentioned about further steps that you take when you work with for-profit organizations and private sector.
Yes.
How can we access those information? What the guidelines?
I don't know if we have it. Maureen, do you think we have any guidelines about for-profit businesses applying as grantees? I don't think we have any written. It's something that we would look at on a case-by-case basis. So if you sent a proposal to us as a for-profit business, then we'd take a look at it, we'd evaluate, we'd try and learn a little bit more about the company, we'd look at the ideas, we'd look at the people involved, and then we'd make a decision. It's not something like where we have a prepared rules or anything.
So if you have such a proposal, since you don't already have like a system established, would you, and if you don't have that, and you don't have like a specific place to send in the proposal, so does it mean you can send a proposal anytime?
Yeah, so for public diplomacy grants, we would accept applications on a rolling basis. And if it's a really great idea, and we've got, if the money's already in our public diplomacy bank account, then great, we might say, yep, let's do it right here today. More realistically though, is that the way that our internal budget cycle works is that we get our money in October, but not all of it. It comes throughout the year, and we have to spend it by September 30th. So it's in July, August, September where we're most serious about, all right, we know exactly how much money we have left to spend, we know what kind of ideas we're interested in, and that's when we do most of our grant processing. So that's why we want to do the presentation in March, so that you guys have a chance to see all the paperwork in action. You can do it in March and April and May, and then you could send it to us in June or July or August, and that's when we're looking and most active with assigning grants. Does that make sense? Great. One last question. Any takers? Emmanuel, is that a question?
No, an announcement.
Great.
Forgot to mention this. Next week is International Education Week, and we have a series of events, mostly at American Corner Kigali, Adventist University of Central Africa. And those events will be virtual sessions by American universities presenting about the application process and scholarship opportunities. On Tuesday we have Georgetown University, that will be a graduate presentation. And on Wednesday we have a panel presentation by students who have gone to the US and have come back and share their experience about the US. And on Thursday we have a virtual session in this room. Here from 2 to 3. So all those will be sharing information about US application process, funding opportunities. Please do attend those sessions, and if you need more information you can email me at educationusa.kigali@state.gov. And there's a notice over there, a notice board, you can read the information about next week. Thank you.
Thanks everybody so much for being here today. Feel free to stick around afterwards if you want to ask some more specific questions to myself or Maureen, to Emmanuel about Education USA, to Jado about the Embassy's English language programming, to Richard in the back if you have questions about how you might be able to use this space or our American Corner at the Adventist University for public events or programming or ideas that you might have to better connect the Embassy with people that you know or communities you're involved in or groups that you're active in as well. There are restrooms off to this side. And after that, you're free to escort yourself back around. We've got a question in the back, yes? I'm sorry, couldn't quite hear you. Yes. Yes. No, so, a lot of the different NOFOs that we've been talking about, whether that's a political economic section NOFO, that it's active, then it's no good for you. But if you have a very general idea that has to do with public diplomacy, about how the embassy can do some good or help you do some good in the community, that you can submit on a rolling basis. So I don't know if this is setting ourselves up for failure, but each one of you could email me a grants application tomorrow if you wanted. I might pick one or two of those that are phenomenal and say, yes, we're going to start this immediately. Feedback